Let's get into it.
So this first one, I didn't want to talk about too much, but I did want to kind of just kind of briefly get into it, because this is not an aspect of the streaming wars I had even really considered. It wasn't on my map. Ironically, just this weekend, with my kids, I decided to do the entire Disney Plus package, which means I got Hulu and ESPN Plus.
Right.
And my kids are really into anime, and I didn't realize Hulu has a lot of anime on it. And so we were actually watching My Hero Academia for the first time with me. My kids are really into it, but this is the first time I got to watch it. And I watched I think 4 or 5 episodes with them, and I really kind of liked it. Have you seen that? Have you seen My Hero Academia?
I have not seen any of it, no.
Okay. Do you like anime in general? We haven't really talked about anime before, so.
I mean, I grew up watching a lot of anime. I think, did we show the ship for Red Skirts in the last episode? I think we did. That's heavily influenced by Star Blazers, or a space battle for Shimato, I think it's what it's called in the original Japanese, but obviously that's not Japanese, that's English, but you know what I mean? The Japanese title was different than what we got. But I grew up watching Star Blazers, Speed Racer, Voltron, which was, I think it was, I'm not going to try and do the other names. Transwar Z was a favorite of mine as a kid.
I remember Transwar Z.
I
remember
loved
that. I grew up watching that.
I loved all of that stuff. A lot of the cartoons that you and I watched were actually, produced by a lot of the same animation studios. But I remember seeing, being really young and seeing, on VHS, things like Fist of the North Star, Battle Angel Alita, a lot of these things that went on to live in other media. Obviously, Robotech, big, huge series for me. I love Robotech. Robotech, again, also has a huge influence on Red Skirts as well as Star Blazers. So, and I've watched some of the newer stuff. I don't know. Some of the newer stuff hasn't quite clicked with me. I wanted to watch that new Ultraman series they had on Netflix. I don't know. Something about the pacing and the way the animation was being handled was a little weird. But I've not seen My Hero Academia. I see a lot of people, talking about it and excited for it. And then there's a lot of the newer stuff I've tried to watch. There was a weird space Flash Gordon kind of series, Space Dandy. I watched a little bit of Space Dandy and a couple other different things, but I'm not big into anime, not the newer stuff anyway. Whenever I watch something, I'm going back to a lot of the more classic stuff. Those shows, there's something about the context and the content and whatever that still speaks to me. My previous series I did, Bushi Tales, was also heavily, well, not heavily, but definitely influenced by, it's the ninja one. I can't believe I can't remember the name of it. It's the big crazy, not ninja, the samurai ninja animated film. Now I can't remember the name of it. That's really bad. I should tell everyone it's a classic, and I can't even remember the name of it. So I have watched a lot of anime. I do watch anime from time to time, but I'm not a huge fan of the current stuff.
Yeah, I'm probably in the same category. Although, like I said, I recently, just yesterday, was watching My Hero Academia with my kids, and of course that does add to the experience as well, because my kids are really into it and they're watching it and all that kind of stuff. So, but I liked it, and I actually recommend it to you to check it out, because I'm in the same boat. Like, I have not supported very much modern anime. I grew up on Robotech. I love Robotech. And of course, Robotech is kind of unique because of the way they handled the story and all that kind of stuff. It really is kind of a unique thing because, it's those 3 unrelated shows that were kind of just put together with a single narrative. And I thought they did a really good job of doing that.
Right.
And I really like that whole idea. But as far as modern anime goes, I'm in the same category as you, where I haven't seen a lot. But so I didn't think about this. I did not think about anime as being a front on the streaming wars. This is an article from The Verge. It's dated December 23rd, 2019. A fairly new article, and it says anime is one of the biggest fronts in the streaming wars. I hadn't even considered this. And what's interesting is this article talks about how there are so many streaming platforms currently that have anime, have a significant amount of anime. Crunchyroll is one that's like exclusively anime. Funimation Now, another anime channel. But then, of course, Netflix has a ton of anime. Mm-hmm. Amazon Prime has a ton of anime. And then there's another service I never heard of, which is High Dive. And apparently that's a big anime source. And it mentions that if you were to have all of these services, if you're a big anime fan, and you had all these services, it would cost you $42.95 a month to pay for all these. And that's one aspect of the streaming wars that I've been trying to cover is how much is this all going to cost? And these are existing services. And oddly enough, I was just talking about Hulu. Hulu has a ton of anime too, and they mention it later in the article. But in this particular breakdown, they don't even talk about Hulu. They talk about Hulu a little bit later here in the article. But it's kind of interesting as far as all these different shows. And what the article talks about is one of the issues is even though a lot of these platforms have the same shows, they don't all get the shows at the same time. And this is apparently a big issue with anime fans because a lot of the anime fans, they want these shows as close to when they come out in Japan as possible. And I know that's been an issue with my kids, talking with my kids, because I think they use the free Crunchyroll, and I know obviously we're kind of using Hulu now, but we just barely got Hulu, and I think Netflix. That's where they primarily see their anime, and they've kind of mentioned to me casually that this is an issue where they're like waiting for a season, like the next season, for like years, like it seems, like they're just waiting forever because of the particular platform, because they're not all the same. So so this was an interesting thing. That was kind of what this article was all about. So it was kind of breaking down these different services and which shows if you like this particular show, it's like you kind of have to have this service because this is the one that really supports it and gets it out in a timely manner. So it's kind of interesting. It's something that I hadn't considered as far as one of the fronts of the streaming wars. These are pretty much all existing, streaming channels are talking about. These are not new ones because, as far as I know, that isn't something. Obviously, Disney isn't getting into that right now, although they do with Hulu, right? Hulu has a lot of anime, and then Apple Plus hasn't really got into this either. But it's just kind of interesting to see all these different services and them talking about these issues as far as if you want to see this show and you want to see it when it's coming out, you're going to have to get this service. But if you like this show, you're going to have to do this service, even though both services have the same show.
Right.
So that's what I found really interesting about this article. And I thought was, like I said, it was something I hadn't even really thought about. It wasn't really on my radar as far as something that might contribute to the winners and losers of the streaming wars. But I thought I would bring it up. Even though, like I said, I'm not a huge anime guy, but my kids are. My kids enjoy it, and I do think it's going to be something that's going to be a factor, in the streaming wars.
Yeah, it's interesting because and the series whose name I could not remember is Ninja Scroll.
Ninja Scroll, okay, I've heard of that. And I don't think I've seen it, but I have heard of it.
Ninja Scroll is really great. I can highly recommend it. And then along those same lines, I was thinking about there's a lot of stuff I grew up watching I shouldn't have seen. There was also anime, things like Crying Freeman. I should not have been watching Crying Freeman at the age in which I was watching it. So it's not like I have like huge anime, credentials or anything. But I have grown up watching a lot of it, and I've also grown up reading a lot of manga too. Not to the extent of some people, but definitely at least on par with some of my contemporaries as far as some of the comic artists working in the industry.
Yeah, I hear that. I totally hear that. So this is the other article that I got that was kind of more in line with the coverage we've been doing. These are some comments from the CEO of Showtime. This is a CNBC article. It came out Tuesday, December 24th. So this is a very recent article. It says it will take years before winners of the streaming wars emerge. Former Showtime CEO says. That's a former.
Okay. Before you go any further, scroll back up. I want everyone to notice that this is written by, looks like Mr. Stank, at Kevin Stank. little Marvel reference there for people who like the Marvel movies. I just thought it was interesting. That's not his actual last name. I just thought it was funny. His Twitter, his handle there is Kevin Stank. So Mr. Stank. Anyhow, sorry, that was amusing.
Yeah. That's interesting. I didn't even notice that. I didn't even notice that. So key points. It says the streaming wars accelerated in 2019, but it will be a while before the winners emerge, former Showtime Network CEO Matthew Blank said. He said, quote, these free subscribers are going to be moving through the universe for the next 2 or 3 years for all these services, and you're really not going to know what these businesses look like, Blank told CNBC. Now, at first, I had no idea what he meant by this. I was like, free subscribers, what are you talking about? Well, the article goes on to explain what he's talking about is the fact that, for instance, at&t is going to be bundling HBO Max, right? Verizon is giving you Disney for free for a year, okay?
Right.
It looks like Apple is giving away a free year of Apple TV when a customer buys a new iPhone, Mac, iPad, or Apple TV box. So that's what he's talking about, and this is something I hadn't really considered either, and that's interesting, So you have this situation where a lot of these bundling options are happening, and as a result, we're really probably not going to know, how popular these streaming sites really are until these trials go away.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to take us a year to really know how well Disney Plus is doing, because after a year, when those Verizon customers have to start paying for Disney Plus, will they?
Right.
And that's a good point. I think that's a really good point in these streaming wars, is that yes, there is a lot of bundling going on, and until these trials and things go away, we won't have a good picture. I think it's kind of a manipulated picture, is what I'm saying, of how truly popular these sites are. Obviously, these guys are in it for the long haul. But still, I think he makes a good point. I think it's a valid point. It's definitely something to consider in these streaming wars, and it's something that I hadn't thought about before.
Right.
But it makes a lot of sense. I think it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. That is interesting. I hadn't given that a lot of thought, but it makes sense. It's going to take a little while with all the bundling, and and it's one of those things that makes you wonder if for some of these companies, if this media content, it's not so much selling the media content as using the media content to sell the device to watch it on. For some of these companies, it might be more important to sell self-service and a phone, than necessarily, the streaming service that's packaged with it.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like I have AT&T, and AT&T gives you HBO now. But I don't know. It sounded like from this article, they aren't going to be giving me HBO Max unless I'm subscribed to regular HBO. So that's interesting. So I don't know exactly how that's going to work, but I actually do get HBO now. Not HBO Max hasn't come out yet, but I do get HBO now because I have AT&T. So it'll be interesting to see how that stuff all works. Like I said, like Verizon, obviously that's a big one. That's an obvious one. After a year, those Verizon customers that are enjoying Disney Plus, they'll no longer have it for free. So will they stay? That's the big question. That's really the big question.
And see, for me, like I'm basically paying for all of my stuff. I don't have anything that's bundled with anything. So I'm paying for Disney Plus. I'm paying for CBS All Access. You know what I mean? I'm paying for Amazon Prime. So none of my stuff is packaged with anything. And it's interesting because I always want to get rid of Netflix. Like that's the one
Yeah.
I want to get rid of. And Lost in Space season 2 is basically rolling out, I think, as of today. And I really liked Lost in Space season 1. Did you watch Lost in Space season 1 by any chance?
I haven't seen it. I just haven't. You know, it's funny with Netflix when you talk about Netflix, because I was nodding to you because I don't use Netflix that much. I really don't, and I think part of it is because I'm a little overwhelmed by it. Like when I first got Netflix, I would spend hours just going through all the different things, just looking for something, and
Right.
I would literally do that for like hours. Like trying to find something to watch. And it was like, well, I want to watch this. So what happened is I have like, you have your little play queue or whatever. You can add things to watch later, that you're interested in. My queue was like hundreds of things. It was just huge.
Right.
And I haven't watched half of them. So I don't know. It's kind of one of those things where, because I don't use it a whole lot, I've considered getting rid of it, especially with some of this other stuff that's coming out that I'm maybe a little more interested in. But I've kept it because of my kids. That's the main reason I've actually kept Netflix, because my kids watch a lot of stuff on there. So I don't know. I mean, like right now, I went ahead and I'm trying the Disney bundle. I'm doing Disney Plus with ESPN Plus and Hulu. And I will say I am annoyed by the ads in Hulu. I'm annoyed that I have to pay for ads,
Right.
But yeah, I'm kind of liking it. Like I said, I mean, we watched a bunch of My Hero Academia on Hulu the other night, and we had a great time. So I mean, that's kind of like paying for it already. That experience, sitting down with the kids and watching these shows. And then I'm definitely going to be using the ESPN Plus a lot because I'm a big college football fan. So one of the reasons I did the bundle was so I can see the bowl games,
Right.
I want to watch the bowl games. So, in fact, it's kind of funny, like, I don't know if you're into college football, but it's kind of funny. Like last night, the Hawaii BYU game, which, that wasn't like a highly regarded bowl. I mean, Hawaii's pretty decent this year, but they're not considered one of the top conferences. But anyway, it was a great game. It was a really good game, like just went back and forth. And so, so I'm trying them all out right now. But yeah, I've seriously considered getting rid of Netflix. And I wonder how many other people are thinking about that right now, especially as they're doing stuff like me, where they're getting the Disney Plus bundle,
Right.
You can't really justify, for long-term keeping both. That adds up over the course of a year.
Right.
So we'll see, right? We'll see how other people react to this and what they decide to do.